about you is that you have ambition to be great. My job is to coach you to get all that greatness out of you.
What is good, Fin Nation? What's good? It's your boy Reason. We are back here for another one as officially joint practices are underway between the Miami Dolphins and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Started today, obviously. So, man, we got a lot to talk about. Today was a day where the defense for our side, other than one-on-ones, we struggled a little on one-on-ones. Most notably, Noah Vinogany got burnt toasted today. That man came out looking like the Virgin Mary, burnt on a piece of toast. All right, that guy was done today. We got a couple highlights to show you of that. Offensively, the run game struggled at times. Tua was okay, but you're saying, you're saying the offense held its own. Guys, other than a few reps, there was one rep where Vita Vea blew two guys up in the interior. Other than a few reps, our offensive line was not a complete and utter disaster today. I am taking that as a holding their own against that front seven. The O-line did not get lit up. All right? I mean, offense held up. Let's put it there. If the O-line held up, we there. Now, the offensive line had a few reps. Like I said, they had a few reps where they lost. But for the most part, they were not destroyed like the way we thought they might have got destroyed. All right? So, I mean, got to get some props. On the other side, the trenches on the other side, man, our defensive line was causing absolute havoc today. Frustrating Tom Brady. Good stuff from the offensive line. From the defensive line. Good stuff. But, yeah, hey, like I said, our offensive line did not go out there and get absolutely destroyed. So I'm going to take that as a held their own today. We're going to go over it because here's the deal. We're going to go over the usual suspects. I'm actually not going to go over Travis tonight because I don't like his notebook reports as much as I do just going on his his Twitter feed and just reading you guys play by play. So we're going to go over, Omar, we're going to go Miami Herald, Sun Sentinel, SI.com, PFN, but we're also going to flip over and I want to take a look at The Athletic, Greg Auman, who covers the Bucs. He had training camp notes today. On top of that, the Tampa Bay Times had an article about Tom Brady that included notes. And on top of that, we also have the Pewter Report. So we're going to be seeing what the Dolphins media says and what the Bucs media says. All right, we're going to bring both perspectives, not just one, because we're trying to get as many answers as humanly potentially possible here, right? So let's first of all, I just wanted to get through here because I saw there was a monthly jump earlier. So let me do that. Let me take care of that. Where are you? Well, it didn't pop up in StreamYard, so I have to go on my chat. Shout out to Hammer, though. Hammer with the $5 donation. Were all the Bucs D linemen there? If they were, then our line is cooking with gasoline. Yeah, bro. Vita Vea was there. Akeem Hicks was there. We weren't against a bunch of scrubs. Let's put it that way. So, we're going to go over all that for sure. All right. So let's start off. Let's get into everything because we're going to have a lot to go over. As always, we're going to have highlights too from the day. and I wanted to look over Tua Tagovailoa's media availability with all you guys. So, with all that said, let's get into it. We got a lot to go over here, that's for sure. So let's get into it. Again, a ton to go over. So starting off, with the Miami Herald. This is what they said about the first day of joint practice in regards to the Dolphins and them, the Dolphins and the Bucs. So, title is Dolphins defense steps up on day one of joint practices with Buccaneers. And this is from Daniel Ifusi. So, for the better part of 2 hours at the Advent Health Training Center Wednesday morning, the Dolphins offense and defense worked on adjacent fields, going head to head with the opposing units of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Dolphins' 11th training camp practice and first of a pair with the Bucs ahead of their preseason opener Saturday featured a promising effort from the defense and an efficient day from quarterback Tua Tagovailoa. Tagovailoa got plenty of work in one-on-one, 7-on-7, 11-11 drills against a defense that finished ninth in Football Insider's efficiency ranking last season. The following is a breakdown of his 7-on-7 and 11-11 work. In his first 7-on-7 action, Tagovailoa went unofficially 3 for 4 with short completions to tight end Durham Smythe, wide receiver Jalen Waddle, and running back Raheem Mostert. His sole incompletion was his first attempt, a pass to tight end Mike Gesicki. Tagovailoa was also forced to hold the ball on a coverage sack. In his first 11-11 work, Tagovailoa completed a pair of passes to Waddle and wide receiver Tyreek Hill. In the following 11-11 drill, Tagovailoa throwing to his right and against his body completed his only attempt, an intermediate pass to Hill along the sideline. In the next 11-11 drill, Tagovailoa was 3 for 3 with intermediate completions to Hill, rookie wide receiver Eric Izakama, and wide receiver Cedric Wilson Jr. An 11-11 work that featured the offense driving the length of the field instead of staying on one spot like previous sessions. Tagovailoa was 4 for 6 with a pair of completions to fullback Alec Ingold and passes to Wilson and Waddle. Ingold dropped Tagovailoa's first attempt in the flat, and Tagovailoa's final attempt to Gesicki was slightly late, but linebacker Levante David made a nice play on the ball to defect the pass too. In Tagovailoa's final team drill, 11-11 work which simulated a 2-minute drill. He was 5 of 6 with a pair of completions to Chase Edmonds and Hill and another Waddle. His sole incompletion was on his second attempt, a pass to Waddle. However, a short run was stuffed on third down and the game clock expired before the Dolphins could get their kicking unit set on the field. So let's do some math here. So if we're looking at what he was for the day, whether it was 7-on-7 or 11-11, he was 3 for 4 in 7-on-7s, right? In 11-11, he was okay, let me see this. Okay, so then he was 14 of 17 in 11-11 team drill today by the Miami Herald's account. I mean, not bad. Again, we don't have footage coming out to the extent we did last time, right? But I mean, yeah, 14 for 17. I mean, I'm taking it. I don't know what the coverage is like. I don't have all the clips, right? Because if you do it, right, we do the math here, right? He was 3 for 4 right there unofficially. All right. Then in his first 11-11 work, he completed a pair of passes, right? Then I missed an attempt. Then he completed in another 11-11 drill. So there you go. So now we got him at 3 for 3 on 11-11s. Then he was 3 for 3 again, right? So now we're 6 for 6. Then he was 4 for 6, right? So now we're 10 for 12. And then in his final ones, he was 5 for 6. So 15 for 18. I apologize. If you do it, the math, he was 15 of 18. So take that as you will. So 15 of 18 today. It seems a lot of it, there's no deep passes really. It seemed like a lot of it was more short to intermediate level. But hey, take what they're giving you. I take what they're giving you. So I mean, I'll take it. Take what they're giving you. Don't force it. Anyways, plays of the day. Cornerback Keon Crossan laid out to deflect a seam pass from Buccaneers quarterback Blaine Gabbert that was intended for wide receiver Vincent Smith. Crossan got his hands on the ball multiple times Wednesday. On a pass from Tagovailoa that was slightly behind Wilson, the veteran receiver made an acrobatic effort to reach back and secure the pass over the middle of the field between the defenders. Yeah, I heard that play was crazy today. On the 2-minute drill for the Dolphins defense, Buccaneers quarterback Tom Brady officially completed 5 of 8 passes. 4 of the passes were short, but he completed a long pass along the sideline with quarterback Noah Igbinoghene in coverage. Obviously, Noah got roasted today. That man has even come off the rotisserie grill yet? Holy. That man got roasted, man. They are just juicing him up on the grill right now. The completion set up a made field goal for Tampa. Defensive end Emmanuel Ogbah batted a Brady pass and registered a sack on the drive. Ogbah, baby. For most of the morning, the Dolphins defense limited runs by the Buccaneers offense and kept most passes in front of them in team drills. However, Tampa Bay practiced without wide receivers Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, who remained sidelined with injuries. Julio Jones was a beast in one-on-ones from what I heard and the footage I've seen. Igbinoghene was targeted and gave up several completions in team drills. He was also beat multiple times in one-on-one drills, ceding completions to Julio Jones and Jalen Darden. The Darden one is disgusting because Darden doesn't even fully commit to the stab step, and Noah fully bites on the stab step. Just fully bites on it. And then Darden's gone, and Darden literally puts his hand up, throw it. Ridiculous. On Tagovailoa's first pass of 11-11 drills, he targeted Hill on a deep pass, but cornerback Carlton Davis broke up the attempt. Undrafted rookie receiver Braylon Sanders beat cornerback Zion McCollum on a deep round on one-on-ones. And Ezekama later got behind cornerback Don Gardner to bring a long pass from quarterback Teddy Bridgewater. Bridgewater threw a pair of interceptions in team drills. The first came in 7-on-7 action. Davis undercut a pass that was behind Preston Williams. Bridgewater was then later picked off by linebacker Devin White on a tip pass. And I don't think Skylar Thompson got very much work today at all, if any. The Dolphins' running offense failed to set up much traction against a talented Tampa Bay defensive front. In one 11-11 session, Edmonds and Mostert were stopped early for short gains. There were a few dust-ups between the teams, but nothing that escalated dramatically. Christian Wilkins stuffed running back Leonard Fournette on a short carry, but Fournette took exception to something, took a swipe at Wilkins. It was quickly broken up. Buccaneer players were later upset about a pair of plays involving Brandon Jones, in which the third-year safety made more contact on an offensive player than the Tampa Bay side appreciated. On both occasions, players were quickly separated. Availability-wise, multiple players returned to practice, including offensive lineman Michael Dieter, safety Clayton Fledgelum, and cornerback Elijah Campbell. Defensive back Sheldrick Redwine and John Lovett were spotted at practice and wearing their jerseys, but were not in pads. Thomas Morstead returned to practice, but was limited. Ingold remained in a non-contact jersey, while Byron Jones remains on the physically unable to perform list. And rookie Kadir Kahu sustained an apparent injury in team drills and was later seen working with trainers. So there is your first report from the Miami Herald. Now with that, let's go ahead. Let's get into what was being said by the Sun Sentinel for you guys. So here is what went down. Noah Monogany couldn't find himself in a better situation to prove he can handle a starting quarterback role in the NFL. With Byron Jones on the physically unable to perform list because of surgical procedure he underwent in the spring, the former Auburn standout, the Miami Dolphins selected with the 30th pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, has had plenty of opportunities to prove he can handle with working with the first team defense. Problem is, he struggled for most of Miami's camp, yet again, routinely getting beat by receivers Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. And while those struggles can be justified because of Hill and Waddle's phenomenal speed, what happened during Wednesday's joint practice against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers could be an indicator of what's to come during the preseason. Buccaneers starting quarterback Tom Brady went after Igbenogany most of Wednesday's practice. He connected on 2 passes to Julio Jones, making the former Pro Bowl receiver like he looked like he did in his prime with Igbenogany in coverage. Then, in a situational period at the end of practice, Brady got his offense into field goal territory with a 20-yard comeback pass to Devin Tompkins, who beat Igbenogany. It was clear that the Buccaneers viewed Igbenogany as the weak link of Miami's defense. Last year, around this time, Igbenogany was trying to work his way out of former coach Brian Flores' doghouse after struggling during camp's first 2 weeks. Fast forward a year, and it seems very little progress has been made. It'll be interesting to see how Igbenogany responds to a tough day and whether or not the Dolphins will give Trill Williams or Keon Crossan more opportunities going forward. The Buccaneers kicked a 47-yard field goal during a situational period where the offense was challenged to drive downfield with a minute on the clock. The Dolphins were put in an identical situation, drove downfield into scoring territory, but couldn't get the field goal unit in position to attempt the kick before time expired. The joint practice featured a few chippy moments that centered around Tampa Bay's tailbacks. Leonard Fournette struck Dolphins defensive tackle Christian Wilkins' helmet at the conclusion of a run, and Miami safety Brandon Jones popped a Bucs tailback at the end of practice and created a shoving match between the offense and the defense. Sony Michel took a dump-off pass from backup quarterback Teddy Bridgewater for a sizable gain. He fumbled at the end of the run, but well after the whistle as Tampa Bay defender punched at the ball. Miami rookie quarterback Skylar Thompson found receiver Trent Sherfield open on a deep comeback. Yeah, he got limited work today. Michael Dieter, who had been sidelined by a foot injury, participated in his first practice since the opening of training camp. That's good. Pass protection was solid, but the Dolphins did allow a handful of coverage sacks. However, Miami's run game was stagnant. In fairness to the Dolphins' offensive line, prize free agent addition Taron Armstead only took a handful of reps during the first team period. Emmanuel Ogba deflected a pass at the line of scrimmage during a situational period and had a potential sack on the drive. However, the reps didn't stop the play before Brady completed a pass to Giovanni Bernard. Stock up. Zach Seiler has spent the past 2 seasons establishing himself as a valued contributor, starting 18 games on Miami's hybrid defensive line. And he was highly productive during Wednesday's practice. Seiler beat up on the interior of Tampa Bay's offensive line, which is trying to replace 3 projected starters. Stock down. Teddy Bridgewater threw 2 interceptions during 11-11 periods, giving the Bucs the edge when it came to turnovers. Cornerback Carlton Davis and linebacker Devin White pulled down Bridgewater passes intended for Preston Williams. Davis undercut a pass Bridgewater threw behind Williams, and White pulled down a high pass Williams tipped up into the air. And then no more new injury updates. Fledglem, Campbell, and Dieter, they returned to practice. Redwine and Lovett were out, and Kadir Kahu suffered what appeared to be an ankle injury during the early team period. So there you go. That's the Sun Sentinels update. Now, let's head over. Let's check out what SI they had to say. This is what SI said. Tampa, it was a typical morning practice for the Miami Dolphins in a sense that it was really hot. But this was not just practice because they worked with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for the first time in 2 days at the Advent Health Training Center. The facility not far from Raymond James Stadium features 3 fields, and when there's action on all of them, it's impossible to keep tabs on everything that's going on. But it wasn't for the lack of trying, and we still came away with a lot of nuggets, and more importantly, the overall impression that the Dolphins, at the very least, held their own against the Buccaneers in this practice, if not more. With that, let's dive into the report. The Dolphins welcomed back 3 of 5 players who had been out of practice in recent days. Most notable of them was obviously Dieter. This was his first practice since he sustained a foot injury in one of the first practices of camp. Fledulum and Elijah Campbell were back. Redwine and Lovett were out. Alec Ingold again wore a red no contact jersey, but there was no orange jersey this time. Perhaps there was no music because there was no music playing during practice. Tyreek Hill again was a dominant player in practice. As we've seen in the practices in Miami, the dude is very, very hard to cover. He ended up with 5 catches in team drills on 6 target, with his 1 incompletion coming on a pass breakup. There were no bombs on this day, just Hill consistently getting open for easy completions. The practice ended with the Buccaneers on offense for a 2-minute drill, and Ogba was a major presence there, even though the drill didn't end well for Miami. Ogba batted down a pass at the line of scrimmage on one play before coming back a few plays later and getting around the edge to get to Tom Brady. Of course, Ogba stopped as he got to Brady and the play continued, but that looked like a sack in a game situation. Tagovailoa was very efficient running the offense and taking what the defense was giving him. See, that's what I could already tell that's where we were going with all of this, that he was clearly taking what the defense was giving him today, right? But by our calculations, he completed 14 of 19 passes in team periods. So they got 14 of 19. What's it called? Miami Herald had 15 of 18, right? And did some nice work in 2-minute drill to get the Dolphins in field goal position, even though that ended poorly. There were no highlight bombs like we've seen at times in practice, but Tagovailoa was on target on most of his throws. Teddy Bridgewater threw the only 2 interceptions by Dolphin quarterbacks, one in a 7-on-7 drill when Miami native Carlton Davis undercut a slant by Preston Williams, and the other when Devin White picked him in an 11-11 period on a pass that was tipped. He was 7 for 9 in team periods, but the 2 misfires were bad. There was the interception, and then he underthrew Tent Sherfield after he got wide open behind the Tampa Bay secondary. There were no throws that stood out. Skylar Thompson just flat out didn't get much of a chance on this day. He was on the field for only 1 set of team drills and handed off twice. His only pass attempt was completed to Sherfield for a 10-yard gain. Since we mentioned it already, let's break down the final 2-minute drill that each team had, taking a turn to move down the field for a field goal. After Tua completed 4 passes to get the Dolphins into position, McDaniel called a running play up the middle on 3rd down, which meant a hurry-up situation to get the field goal unit onto the field as time was running down. As it turned out, time expired with Liam Eichenberg still running off the field. So the Dolphins never got to try a field goal. Tampa Bay then got its turn, and Brady completed 5 passes. The last one, a deep comeback to Devin Tompkins against Noah Benogany, and the Bucs kicked the field goal. That play was the capper for what, by all accounts, was a very rough day for Benogany, who early on was beaten deep in one-on-one drills. There weren't any brawls or fights during practice, but Christian Wilkins and Leonard Fournette got up close and personal on a couple occasions, and safety Brandon Jones was starting to get under the skin of Tampa Bay's offensive players in that 2-minute drill. Jones was getting a bit physical for practice for the Bucs' taste, while their problem with Wilkins had to do with his penchant for yapping, because he likes to talk his talk, right? Quick highlights from the one-on-one drills included a deep completion from Bridgewater to Eric Izakama. Preston Williams made a nice adjustment on a pass from Bridgewater. Jared Dokes standing up on Tampa Bay player on a back versus backer pass protection drill. Quincy Wilson had a nice pass breakup against Cade Otton. Linebacker Sam McGuavin dropped what should have been an interception. Channing Tindall was badly beaten downfield. Rookie tight end Tanner Connor beat Pro Bowl linebacker Devin White with a great move, out and up move. As a recurring disclaimer, the one-on-one coverage skill drills heavily favor the receiver, who have the width of the field with which to work and no pass rush to help the defensive player. Interesting that Connor Williams called harsh in his media session a question about how he can go about cleaning up shotgun snaps that don't necessarily go over the head of the quarterback but are still higher than desired. There were 2 of those Wednesday after he had a clean practice in that department on Sunday. Sanders was 8 for 8 today on field goal attempts. Hunt had a good battle with William Golston in one-on-one pass blocking drills, with each winning a rep. Tom Brady went while on the far field. One thing that jumped out is how quickly the ball comes out of his hands on most snaps. Tight end Hunter Long looked like he was holding on an outside running play, and the Dolphins were flagged for another holding later on. Chase Edmonds was yanked down by the face mask and hard by Joe Tryon on an outside running play with 3 or 4 flags flying at the point of the various offensive infraction. Luckily, Edmonds was not hurt. Kadir Kahu sustained what appeared to be a minor injury. He was observed talking with trainers and testing the movement before walking with a bit of a limp. Speaking of Joe Tryon, maybe the coolest play of practice occurred when fullback Alec Ingold put him down on a running play and afterward gave a look to McDaniel, standing way behind the play with McDaniel pointing in his direction as a signal of job well done. I love it. Ingold already out there stiff arming fools. Beautiful. I'm here for every minute of it. Every single solitary minute of it. Adam Beasley was at practice today for Pro Football Network. This is what he had to say. He said the Dolphins D got some payback. Mission accomplished from the Miami Dolphins defense. They were determined not to let the Tampa Bay Bucs embarrass them once again, and they didn't. Instead, the first practice of 2 joint training camp practices by these teams separated by 260 miles was a strong defensive day by both sides. We get into that and much more in this practice report. The last time the Dolphins defense faced Tom Brady, it was a bloodbath. The GOAT torched the secondary for 411 yards and 5 touchdowns in a 28-point beatdown. Fast forward 10 months to the day, and it was far more competitive affair. In fact, Brady seemed a bit frustrated at times as Miami's defense kept Tampa's offense out of the end zone during 11-11 reps throughout the entire 2-hour session. That was on my mind 24/7, said Xavier Howard, who gave up multiple touchdowns in coverage when these teams met in last October. It still is. So I feel like that brings a little bit of fire to it. I feel like that you want to get motivated. You want to watch that game, the people that were there last year, and see what they did to us. Ogba added, we've been waiting on this day. We feel like we got embarrassed last year. We got to go out there and do better this year. It was a good practice against them, and we're looking forward to tomorrow. Certainly, it helped that the Buccaneers weren't at 100% Wednesday. Mike Evans and Rashad Perriman and tight end Cameron Brate were all held out due to injury. Russell Gage pulled up lame early in practice and did not return. But it's not like the Dolphins are at 100% either. Byron Jones hasn't practiced all camp, and his replacement, Noah Igbenogany, got picked on a bit. Igbenogany allowed a long completion in 2-minute drill that led the Bucs to their field goal. But beyond that, there weren't any major breakdowns. Ogba was disruptive, getting pressure on the quarterback when he could and getting his hand up for deflections when he couldn't. Christian Wilkins mixed it up with Bucs running back Leonard Fournette, provoking playoff Lenny to smack Wilkins in the face. Never a wise idea. And Brandon Jones was a heat-seeking missile, drawing the ire of Buccaneers players for what they thought was unnecessary physicality. None of those heated moments boiled over into an actual fight, but there's still another practice to go and a game on Saturday. Stop us if you heard this before. Miami Dolphins quarterback Tua Tagovailoa completed a lot of passes for not a lot of yards. We unofficially had him at 14 of 20. So there you go. We've gone from 15 to 18 to 15 of 19 to now we're at 14 of 20 for 130-ish yards on Wednesday. He didn't throw a touchdown and didn't have a pick. Tagovailoa, who based on practice tendencies might throw the ball to Tyreek 150 times this year, feasted on short and intermediate routes. But he never really threatened Tampa over the top. To his long attempt was a 50-50 ball to River Craycraft in the end zone, and the pass was incomplete. Backup Teddy Bridgewater threw 2 interceptions, both on attempts to Preston Williams, who had been the subject of trade talks. The first pick was by Carlton Davis in 7-on-7s. The second was by Devin White on a deflection in 11-11s. Davis said this of the Dolphins receiver Tyreek Hill. He's a different kind of receiver all around. He brings something to the game that no other receiver has. One more note on the Bucs defense versus the Dolphins defense. Credit Chase Edmonds for not retaliating when Joe Tryon dragged him to the ground by the face mask. The Buccaneers had a scare when Robert Hainsey was carted off the field late in practice. The update from the reporters from Tampa had to come to relief to their fans. He was only cramping up. And Michael Dieter was one of the Dolphins players to return to practice. And he also mentions how Elijah Campbell, Fedulum, et cetera, all returned as well. So, I mean, good stuff. You know, it's a battle, man. It's both teams' first test. You know, and no one was lighting no one up. So, I mean, I ain't going to hate on it. I like it. encouraging. It is what it is. I mean, I get it. Like people wanted us to come out and just light everyone up, and that's just what it was going to be. When what, quite frankly, that's not. Um, I don't think anyone expected that. And if anyone did expect that, I mean, the Bucks, they're gonna give you a fight for the money. This is a good team with a good defense, especially that front seven. And that front seven it seemed like both front sevens were being disrupted today for the most part. So, is what it is. I'm not going to sit here and lose my mind. We're gonna get into what the Bucks reporter said in a minute here too. But I think there was just a lot of encouraging stuff to take away from today. So hey, at least on the Miami side, the defense did its job. The offense, Tua was not making errant throws. He wasn't making bad decisions. He was taking what they gave him. So, I'm not gonna overly criticize today. It was an okay day. Our offense held their ground. At the end of the day, our offense held their ground, and that's all you can ask for. All right. So now let's get into what the Bucks had to say, what their reporters had to say. Let's start off with the Pewter report and what they had to say. And so they go over, they had some Bucks missing from practice. Obviously, Mike Evans wasn't there, Ryan Jensen, et cetera, et cetera. They had some scary injuries, today, that the Russell Gage, he got hurt. And then obviously Robert Hainsey went down, but he came back. Now here's where it says, after some separate stretching and walkthroughs early in practice, the Bucks and Dolphins came together for some one-on-one drills. Tampa Bay's receivers stole the show. They dominated the Miami cornerbacks right out of the gate. Julio Jones put a couple of great reps against Xavier Howard in one-on-ones, with the second going for a touchdown. Jalen Darden rivaled Jones for the day's MVP thanks to his outstanding showing against Noah Igbinoghene. He beat him on 3 straight reps. Yeah, he beat him 3 times during one-on-ones, once blowing right by him down the sidelines. Later in practice, the Tampa Bay offense worked its way down the field against Miami's defense in a 2-minute drill. As good as he was during one-on-ones, Darden had one of his best reps all day in that hurry-up period. He put up a fantastic move on Xavier Howard and took off down the sideline, getting wide open on the play. Tom Brady didn't look his way, though, instead hitting Devin Tompkins for a nice game to set up a field goal try. Darden's impressive camp reached another level when another team entered the mix, which is a good sign for a guy who struggled last year. Tompkins and Scotty Miller both shined during one-on-one period as well. Tompkins beat Keon Crossan and made a high-point catch before Miller blew by another Miami corner for a big gain down the sideline. So, and then it goes on here. Rookie Jarrett Stearns, Kate Otton got in on the fun during 7-on-7, with Stearns making a jumping catch from Blaine Gabbert and Otton stretching out. So in one-on-ones, it was going down. Now things got chippy. They say that as well. Joint practices breed intensity and conflict, and there's plenty of both on Wednesday. There weren't any major scuffles between the Bucks and the Dolphins, though things got heated when Tampa's offense and Miami's defense squared off. Wide receiver Tyler Johnson was in the center of it, exchanging pleasantries with a number of Dolphin defenders. Things reached a peak late in practice during 11-11s. Brandon Jones laid a hit on Scotty Miller during a 2-minute drill, which Johnson didn't appreciate. He quickly jumped in, and some pushing happened before people got separated. A few plays later, Johnson was on the receiving end of a hard hit. That set him off again, and Tom Brady didn't appreciate it either, throwing some shouts at the Miami defense. Johnson walked off slowly before yelling something and slamming his helmet to the ground. He's worth keeping an eye on if he's hurt. On the defensive side of things, the Bucks unit held firm against the Dolphins starters and backups during 7-on-7s. Carlton Davis set the tone early by breaking up a pass while covering Tyreek Hill. Then he intercepted a pass from Teddy Bridgewater as he was looking to hit a receiver by the numbers about 10 to 15 yards down the left side of the field. Another star player showed up big in the drill, and that was Antoine Winfield Jr. The third-year safety aggressively broke up a pass from Tua Tagovailoa over the middle of the field. Devin White later came up with an interception on a pass tipped by Mike Edwards. As a unit, the defense did a great job of limiting Tagovailoa to short underneath completions. There was one instance in which the Bucs had a mixture of starters and backups on the field where the coverage was so good that Tagovailoa just had to hold on to the ball, forcing a whistle to end the play. Zion McCollum had growing pains going up against talented receiver Jalen Waddle in practice. Waddle beat him on a crossing route where he was about 4 to 5 steps ahead of Zion McCollum. So there you go. So Waddle had himself a day against Zion McCollum. That's good. That's good to see. Here's what the Tampa Bay Times, before we get into the Athletic, which is behind a paywall. This is what the Tampa Bay Times had to say today. No one wanted to talk about the GOAT in the room, and it just says, well, that could have got awkward. Tom Brady and Tagovailoa had a conversation during a Bucs Dolphins joint practice Wednesday. They talked about what they did in the offseason. They talked about golf. Apparently, they didn't talk about what happened last December when Brady was having impermissible discussions about joining the Dolphins, possibly taking over Tagovailoa jobs as a quarterback. For the most part, 23 years playing, there's a long time. That's a lot of knowledge. So I was asking him some things, and he gave me some good insight, Tagovailoa said. But I'll keep it between me and Tom. If you guys want to ask Tom, go ask him. Brady hasn't been made available to the media since last week, the day before the NFL ordered the Dolphins to forfeit their first-round pick in the 2023 draft and the third-round pick in 2024. And it just goes over how Stephen Ross, it goes over the Beal stuff. So we won't go over that stuff. You know what I mean? But he did say this. Brady took the opportunity Wednesday to show the Dolphins what they were missing. In one-on-one drills, he shredded the Miami secondary, even without his top two receivers, Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, who were either out or limited with injuries. Brady was dropping dimes, including one to receiver Julio Jones, who beat Noah Igbenogany, plucking the football off the helmet of the Miami defender. The Bucs have a mostly veteran roster, many of whom joined or rejoined the Bucs and Brady this year for perhaps one last chance at winning a Super Bowl ring. The Dolphins team could be one of the most explosive in the NFL, especially if Brady were under center. They're younger and much faster, especially at the receiver position, than the Bucs. Tyreek Hill, the former Chiefs receiver who once caught 13 passes for 269 yards and 3 touchdowns in a win over the Bucs in 2020, is 28 and almost unstoppable. Bucs cornerback Carlton Davis did as good of a job on him as Wednesday as one could hope for, but came away impressed. On the other side is Jalen Waddle and Cedric Wilson, who also provides speed and separation. The Dolphins have an ascending tight end in Mike Gesicki, who had 73 catches for 780 yards and 2 touchdowns last season. The Miami line is solid with Terron Armstead and left tackle Liam Eichenberg from Notre Dame at guard and Connor Williams at center. I can't believe they included Liam Eichenberg in this. Obviously, they've got speed across the field, Bucs linebacker Lavonte David said. They have a great tight end, numerous amount of backs. With a guy like Tua, all he's got to do is put the ball in the right spot and let those guys work. It was a great day to get the chance to go against a viable opponent. With Brady, the Dolphins will be a lot more than that. Even Tua marvels at his poise and patience in the pocket. Nothing really rattles him, Tagovailoa said. You got a guy in your face. It's just subtle movements and throwing the ball. I would say those are top trait qualities and a really good quarterback with him, Russ, Aaron Rodgers, and all those big-time guys. During practice, because the Dolphins' offense was on the field, Tagovailoa didn't get much of a chance to watch Brady. Contrary to popular belief, Tua doesn't play one snap against Tom Brady, McDaniel said, but it's more about the organization and the type of football they played. It's tremendous for all the guys when we're trying to play football at a high level. Bottom line for Tagovailoa, after all the tampering fallout, I'm still here. To me, that's noise at this point. So there you go. Again, Tom was having a decent day against our boys. Decent day. Finally, from the Athletic, Bucs camp. Carlton Davis says facing Tyreek Hill again makes him better. Bucs corner Carlton Davis has had much worse days against Tyreek Hill, 203 yards and 2 touchdowns in the quarter and a 2020 loss counts. And he's had much better, keeping the Chiefs out of the end zone in his Super Bowl victory. But the chance to test himself against Hill's talent once more is exactly what Davis wanted and wanted his practice. He's a different kind of receiver all around, Davis said of Tyreek Hill after their first joint practice. He brings something to the game that no other receiver does. So to be able to go up against him in practice, especially early on in camp, it helps you fine-tune your skills and your technique. It was a really good day today. I'm excited to go back against him tomorrow. He and Jalen Waddle are two fast, twitchy guys that you have to love and embrace going up against them. There are no receivers in the league that can do what they do. Big praise by Carlton. Davis held his own Wednesday, breaking up a Tagovailoa pass intended for Hill on the first play of one-on-one drills, then getting an interception on another throw. He resigned a $44.5 million contract this spring. And, with Sean Murphy Bunting listed as a starter, the job is still up for grabs with Jamal Dean, a strong challenger. Both played with Davis as part of the team's nickel defense last year, but that nickel job could be covered more by safety Antoine Winfield. So, to appreciate how far Robert Hainsey has come in the last 2 weeks, stepping in as the Bucs starting center after Ryan Jensen's knee injury, you only need to take a few minutes of genuine fear at practice when he limped off the field. Hainsey was hunched over as he walked away with the offensive line late in the 2-minute drill, needing help from a trainer, then taken from a cart. Within minutes, though, there was a collective sigh because it was just cramping. Russell Gage also got hurt. It's a bit alarming for them that Julio Jones is their most healthy receiver right now, but he says one-on-one drills tend to favor receivers over defensive backs, but the Bucs look strong in an opening period of passing drills, regularly winning those individual passes for touchdowns on long passes. Sorry, those individual battles. Perhaps the most encouraging was Jones, Julio that is, who extended his arm against Pro Bowl corner Xavier Howard to create separation and catch a crossing pattern. Then later made a contested catch on the sidelines for another impressive grab. Receiver Jalen Darden put up a deep completion for a backup job on the roster as part of a deep competition, made a move to get past Dolphins corner Noah Benogany and sped away for the touchdown. Tyler Johnson wasn't taking anything from the Dolphins defense, getting up in the face of Jalen Phillips after one play after a hard hit by safety Brandon Phillips on Scotty Miller. Johnson came in and shoved Jones away. He took a shot on his next catch as well, but said after practice he wanted to protect a teammate. I'm just playing the right way, Johnson said. That's all it was, not about sending any message. I just want everybody to stay healthy and get as much from this day as possible. Devin Tompkins had a long catch in the same drills, and he was on kickoff returns for them as well. Veteran Aaron Stinney was listed as a first-string left guard on the team's first unofficial depth chart of the season, but in an important practice Wednesday, it was Nick Leverett working all day as a starting left guard. Leverett, who would be the top backup center as of right now, has worked with the first team in the 4 days out of 11 practices so far. Only one less than Stinney, who worked the second-string right guard today on Wednesday. And so it just continues to go in about their depth behind the running position and such. So, I mean, hey, the talk of the town was our defense was only getting beaten one-on-ones. And the guy who gave up that, they would not have got even a field goal against us if it wasn't for Noah Benogany. Right? Noah Benogany out here getting roasted. So Noah got roasted steadily in one-on-ones and 11-11s. Didn't matter where today. Let's be honest with ourselves. All right? So, hey, I'm digging it. It was a decent day for the defense. The offense, the run game, clearly it's a work in progress. New installs, everything. The O-line, though, that's what we got to come away with. The O-line did not get destroyed today. I know there's one play today. I forget who posted it, but Vita Vea blew up to guys in the interior. I think it was Connor Williams and Robert Hunt. So, with that said, let's get into the highlights from today for you guys. Here are all the highlights compiled from today's practice. Let me get that for y'all. All right, here we go. And here we go. Got torched. Igbo got torched. Here's another angle of it. Look at that. Oh. Faked him with the stab step and just went right by him. Now here's Trill Williams. Trill Williams got torched too. Williams feet right there. And now we got, watch this. They're talking about, well, yeah, just go line up again against X. I'm going to put it up. Go get the football. Go get the football. You know, hugs X. You don't know we're coming for you, bro. So Julio and him working out today. Look at this. X in coverage. Julio just wins the battle, man. Again. Oof. Igbo getting roasted here. Here's another angle of that roasting. Got murked, no. Here's a tight end. Making a big catch on us. No, need him with the breakup. At least someone got in there, huh, Nick? Here's Raekwon Davis against Robert Hainsey. Robert keeps him arced out. It's actually a pretty strong rep by Hainsey. Raekwon's a beast, though.
That away, baby.
Let's bring that back. Here's Tyreek Hill. Well, Tyreek Hill put in the work here. Look at Tyreek. Oh, sorry, my bad.
That away, baby.
That's Eric is a comma. That's Eric is a comma. Yeah, that is a comma. From Teddy Bridgewater. Good throw by Teddy Bridgewater there. Check this out, though. Watch Tyreek. Whoop! Whoop! Oh! Tyreek, that dude, man. One more time. This is watch Tyreek. Whoop! Oh, my God. Tyreek just out here.
Away, Cheetah!
Got Carlton Davis on skates. That was Carlton Davis. So here's some throws from Tua today in one-on-ones. This throw right here to Craycraft. Man, I wish it was in bounce. Oh. And there you get another angle of that move put on by Tyreek there. Beautiful stuff. Whoop. And obviously a miscommunication between Cedric and Tua there. So those were the highlights from today. Not a ton. And I wouldn't expect a super ton to come out as we go on here. But those are the highlights from today. And then, guys, I wanted to go a little bit over. I wanted to go over Tua Tagovailoa's media availability with you guys. So let's get into that right now. And then I wanted to go over news and notes from McDaniel's media availability. So here's Tua's media availability from today after the first joint practice with the Bucs.
Yeah, it was good. We got to go out to dinner with a couple of the guys the first night. Also got to
Man picked up the tab.
Actually just walk through the mall with the guys yesterday with a couple guys and then go to dinner again. I thought it was a pretty cool trip. It felt a little weird because we're still in training camp, but we're seeing the guys, on an off day. That felt a little, different for us, but it was cool to spend some time and then also be with the guys in preparation, for practice like this. So we were able to talk through some things that we don't normally get to talk through until the day of practice. I actually picked up the dinner tab last night. That was a big dinner tab. But, it was good. Everyone enjoyed themselves.
Got to pick it up for the O-line there, Tua. Picked up the Uber, too. Wow.
We went to Ocean Prime. Yeah. Sure, I can't say. I don't even know. I was barely talking to half of the guys because everyone was kind of far away from each other. So.
So what's the biggest difference between practicing against yourselves and then what's the biggest takeaway?
I would say technique. Tampa's technique is different than the technique that we faced a lot in camp, where we get a lot of press man. Tampa has a lot of off man, off zone. And then they have a fair amount of disguises with what they do, but they're a really good team,
Yep.
We're very fortunate as a team to come out here and be able to compete against some of the guys that played on the Super Bowl team 2 years ago. So it's good work for us, and we're looking forward to tomorrow. Yeah, I would say you can never be too high. You never get too low. We'll obviously look at the film, and I think there's some things operationally that we can work on. Getting guys set, understanding the snap count, just little things. But I think for the most part, it was really good to kind of build off on to go into tomorrow with.
So you walk through the mall in Tampa, you're the Miami Dolphins quarterback, played in Alabama. A lot of people recognizing you, not a lot of people recognizing you.
Yeah, no, not. I don't think anyone recognized me. No way.
Is that surprising?
No, not at all. I was wearing, just wear some shades and a hat, hoodie. Yeah, no, nobody recognized me. They recognized the other guys, but then I went to the bathroom when they recognized a couple of the guys, or I just walked out of the store. So, I don't know. If you guys get to interview a couple of the other guys, you guys ask them that question, and then they'll tell you.
And then the other part is, you said it's a large bill, so help us.
Yeah, anything over $1,000, that is, my gosh, that is a lot of money. That's a lot of money. So, just over $1,000, yeah.
So, fair to say, in Miami and Fort Lauderdale, if you're walking around, you get recognized there, right?
No.
No?
No, yeah, of course. Yeah. But I barely go out, so, it's weird because every time I go out, I try to find a gas station when I got to put in gas where, I think no one's going to be at. And then when I do get out, everyone, I feel like, just starts coming and pulling up. And, no one, sometimes, knows it's me. A lot of older people go to the gas station that I go to. So, I like it. I love it. So, it's good.
So I know you're focused on your reps against the Tampa defense, while Tom is on the other side going against the Dolphins defense. But with him on the other side, were you able to get a chance to talk to him, pick his brain a little bit?
Yeah, I
Asked if he was able to
Tom.
pick Tom Brady's brain.
We were talking on the side for a good bit. He was just asking how the off season was. We were talking a little about golf at the same time. But for the most part, 23 years playing. That's a long time. That's a lot of knowledge. So I
agree, Christian. Tua is way more open than he's ever been.
Some good insight on. So I'm gonna keep that between me and Tom. Then if you guys want to ask Tom, you guys go ask him.
From his game, maybe take away, or what impresses you, what he does?
I would say Tom's composure in the pocket. Nothing really rattles him. When you got a guy in your face, you just subtle movements and throwing the ball. I would say those are
I agree,
top
Mount
qualities
Squad.
and a really good quarterback with him.
MT
Russ,
Squad, Mount Squad,
Aaron
whatever.
Rodgers,
MT
all
Squad.
those-
Hey,
all those
listen,
big
let me
time
tell
guys.
you guys this. Just being able to go if you look at the game last year with Brissett to where we are this year in this joint practice is a vast improvement from what this team was last year in a real game situation. Now, we still got another joint practice in a preseason game, but a lot more hope to take away from this joint practice than there was from that
Say
game
what?
last year.
You said the Dolphins. Sorry,
He's asked about the Brady and the tampering.
no. I think I answered that last week. Sorry, yeah, because I think they were doing that in 2019, but then I came in 2020. So I mean, they picked me. So so 2020, it's 2022. I mean, I'm still here. So yeah. So
Why do we keep bringing this up?
I'm still here. To me, that's all noise at this point. Yeah. No one helped me with the tip. No one helped me with the tip. No, because it's when you put the card in, like there's the custom tips that you can't. The guys don't carry cash; they just have the cards. So I just had to customize the tip.
Do they do that thing like they do in Miami where they add the tip into the final bill and ask you for suggested additional ones?
I don't know. They might have got me. Who's the biggest eater on the team? I don't know. We got some big boys, but I don't know.
Look
I'm
at
not too sure. I
you
couldn't
can
tell
get asked a stupid question about Tom Brady and still be fun loving like this.
No, I got the big Uber. I had to get the big Uber. Yeah, and I was the one sitting in the back. It's like, dang. No, it wasn't my idea. It was for a buddy's birthday. There were a couple people's birthdays yesterday, so I'll let you guys figure that one out.
Earlier that the relationship between you and he is obviously an important one. I just wanted to kind of get your perspective on how it's going with Connor, whether it's film study.
Connor Williams, they've been putting in work after practice.
Yeah, it's been really good.
Asked about his
every time
relationship
we
with
see
Connor
each other,
Williams.
I mean, I sit by him in our team meetings. We're talking about, getting the guys going for the day, and then just snap locations on certain plays that'll help us execute the play that much better. And then just our timing with everything. He's taking care of the front, I'm taking care of the back end with things, and just us being in sync, will help this offense go.
So in what ways have you seen the offensive line developing in general?
Shoot, I think they've developed a lot. You look at our run game, it makes it a little harder for guys to really read keys with the O-line because of how much stretch we do, how much stretch action we do. So it puts a lot of stress.
And that's how you set up false keys, baby. Let's go.
Secondary guys as well with the linebackers, getting them to come up and then, obviously replacing them with throws and then also deeper play pass throws. So, I think we've come a long way, and I think the guys would also say that, we're not close to where we want to be, but shoot, it's exciting for the guys.
So Mike McDaniel's also going through these kind of game reps for the first time as a head coach. How's today in this kind of scenario? How were how's the communication and everything going? How's he doing?
Yeah, I think the communication's been good. We've had some miscommunications out there on some team periods, but one of our team rules is when you fail, like failure is a chance for opportunity, and so we've had many of those opportunities today to recover from a missed throw, a missed assignment, a missed cadence, and it was against a good defense. So.
Couple final questions. They said they remembered what happened last year against the Bucs. I'm curious, how much is it on your mind?
Yeah, well, I was on the sideline throughout the game. I mean, anyone wants, any competitor would want to be out there to compete against.
Thanks,
like
Brian.
And it was just unfortunate that, I wasn't able to be out there because of my injury. But, I'm looking forward to this year. We got done with our first practice with them. We're looking forward to tomorrow. We'll come out and see what they bring new and see what we can do to improve.
Let's go.
What do you think about Tyreek so far, and how do he and Jalen complement each other?
Yeah, I think Tyreek is maybe the fastest guy in the NFL. I don't know. It's been Keon Crossan because he's had many kickoff reps, so he gets vertical speed every time. Tyreek doesn't get to really open it up as much. But everyone loves Tyreek in the organization, and I think him and Jalen do a really good job complementing each other by, one goes deep. If they're doubling him, then we got another speedster coming across, and vice versa. But, those guys also help other guys get open on our team. So, yep. Thanks, guys.
I mean, yep, nailed it right there. He's such a class act, and like they ask him a dumb question when he already answered the Brady stuff, and he handles it, and then he continues joking around with them, and it looked like that question was asked by the Tampa media, and then the Miami media are the ones who just got him off subject and got him back onto the food or whatever. So kudos to them for getting him back off the subject because they've already talked to him about it, but absolute class act. And I think today was all about take what the defense gives you. Obviously, they filmed it all. Both sides did. They're going to get back. They're going to watch the film after that. They're already home now. They watch the film after practice. And, tomorrow, hopefully, we see it open up a little bit. You know what I mean? As we start putting stock into things, now the practice is happening. The concern for me right now is, it was a really good run defense, but the run game was stuffed quite frequently today. So we're going to need that to improve big time. So hopefully tomorrow, we see some new wrinkles thrown their way, and we see some gashes on the ground by this running offense. So in the running back committee. So we'll see how it goes. But if you're going to sit there and say, okay, Reason, you wanted us to start putting stock into things. Well, first of all, it's the first joint practice. Second of all, if I'm going to start putting stock into things, okay, our offensive line for the most part held their freaking own. For the offensive line for the most part held their freaking own. So let's put some stock into that. Tua had more of a smart day, was taking more so what the defense gave him. Wasn't forcing stuff deep when it was there. If it wasn't there, you even saw in one of the reports we went over, he took some coverage sacks because the coverage was that good, not because there wasn't anything open. But overall, if I were putting stock into things, the things I would put stock into today would be this. Our front seven was disruptive and dominant today. And our offensive line, by their standards, they had a good day. So if you want me to put stock into something after the first day, the trenches on both sides for our team, they won the day for us. If you want me to sit here and obviously another thing to put stock into, which is money already, Tyreek special. And Tyreek gonna continue doing special things. All right. So Tyreek special, the O-line held their own, and our front seven, our front today, the edge rushers and our front three, they did their damn thing and they look good. So, and stock number 4, let's add a fourth. Noah Benogany might be, people want to sit here and worry about if Tua's a bust. You're looking at the wrong guy from that draft class. So, final tally before we get into our last article here. O-line held its own. Our defensive front and pass rush was very good today and flashed dominance. Right? Tyreek is special. And Noah Benogany, the 4. And Noah Benogany, it ain't looking good, baby. It ain't looking good at all. Ball game, I want that in ones. Just remember that ball game, please. Thank you. So those are the 4 things we will put stock into today. All right? Those are the 4 things we will put stock into for today. Now, finally here, some news and notes from Mike McDaniel and his his media availability today. Let's get into that. 567 of you in the room, guys. Smash that like button. Subscribe if you're new. Show your boy some love. All right. And the reason why I'm going over these news and notes is because of the return situation. So Dolphins coach Mike McDaniel on Wednesday morning left open the possibility of using his top offensive players as return specialists during the 2022 season. First-year head coach was asked before the two joint practices with the Tampa Bay Bucks whether he would be willing to use wide receivers Tyreek Hill or and Jalen Waddle or running back Raheem Mostert as returners. McDaniel deadpanned, I'm willing to do anything at any given time, at any given moment. Later asked in a follow-up question whether there was an open competition at the returner spots, McDaniel said there's an open competition everywhere. Shame on me if I'm anointing for no reason. We have a lot of people that have the ability to return the ball in the punt and kickoff game. During the season, we plan to utilize everyone that makes sense for the team. Remember, special team yards are yards, same as defensive yards given up, same as offensive yards gained. So we'll use our players to best move the ball down the field to score touchdowns or to stop other people from moving it. In the team's first depth chart released Monday, ahead of the preseason opener Saturday night, Mostert and Hill were listed as starting kick returner and punt returner, respectively. Waddle was listed as the backup at both returner spots. After trading all-pro returner Jakeem Grant to the Chicago Bears last season, the Dolphins failed to find a replacement in 2021. Waddle and Javon Holland split duties as returners, but the Dolphins averaged 17.4 yards per kick return and 6.6 yards per punt return, which ranked 31st in the NFL. For the three seasons of Hill's career, he was often used as a punt returner with the Kansas City Chiefs. From 2016 to 2018, Hill returned 84 punts, averaging 12 yards and scoring 4 times. He also returned 14 kickoffs, averaging 27.4 yards and scoring once. However, Hill, who was named to the NFL 2010s All-Decade team as a punt returner, hasn't returned a kickoff in the past 3 seasons and only 2 punts since 2018. He didn't return a punt last season, but general manager Chris Grier told reporters in March that Hill expressed an interest in returning kicks as a Dolphin. Mostert, who began his career as a kick returner, hasn't returned a kickoff since the 2019 season. For his career, he averages 24.2 yards per kick return. McDaniel today on the Shaheen trade had to say this. He commented on the Dolphins trade of tight end Adam Shaheen for the first time, saying depth at tight end allowed the team to execute the deal. The team on Tuesday announced it traded Shaheen and a Dolphins 2023 7th-round pick to the Houston Texans for a 2023 6th-round pick. Different opportunities come across your board, McDaniel said, and Chris Grier is outstanding about communicating and talking about everything. Bottom line was, to Adam Shaheen's credit, he's well thought of. He's a well-thought-of NFL player, as he should be. And to our team's tight end room's credit, we thought that we could afford investing in the future draft capital because we felt pretty good about the position as well. We were happy for Adam. We were happy for the Dolphins. The Dolphins are expected to keep at least 3 tight ends, Gesicki, Smythe, and Long, on their 53-man roster, and could keep a 4th, whether it be Ethan Carter or John Lovett. When the Dolphins defenders took the field for what was an overall impressive morning practice against the Bucs offense, they were not only excited to face another opponent for the first time in training camp, they had vivid memories of the last time the two sides faced each other in a 45-17 Tampa Bay win, exactly 8 months to the date of the practice on Wednesday. And they go over how Xavier Howard said it was on his mind 24/7. And he, Barry Jackson continues, the Dolphins defense had the edge for much of the morning against Tom Brady and the Bucs offense, featuring 3 new starters on the offensive line and practicing without Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, who were sidelined with injuries. So there you go. Mike, I don't know how I feel about this returner situation. Man, I was an advocate for getting rid of Jakeem Grant, and I'm still not a fan of the guy. I mean, he's hurt right now. But man, like, I'm sorry. I just, I can't believe they haven't found someone to replace, and I'm not asking for an all-pro guy, but you can't find someone to replace it, and just do a competent enough job. That's really, that's not very, that's very troubling to me. So, With Mozart and Waddle and Hill, with Mozart's injury and the value of Hill and Waddle, I don't know how comfortable I truly am with them being the returners to this team. Like, honestly, to be, I wish Noah could even offer us this with all this athleticism and everything he has. The fact that he can't even offer us this, painful. All right, guys, I'm going to get out of here, but I will be back tomorrow night around 8 o'clock. We'll recap and review and go over all the highlights and how the day went for the Dolphins tomorrow night. So we'll be live around 8 o'clock. Be on the lookout for that. And yeah, Saturday again, I'll be live reacting to the preseason game for the Miami Dolphins. So we'll be live on Phinside the NFL on Saturday night as well. Guys, have a fantastic Wednesday night. Stay happy, healthy, safe, and blessed. And I mean, you already know what time it is. I don't got to say it. Guys, the first joint practice, we got legitimate contact today. We got pads, crushing pads, wanting to take each other's heads off. It got chippy. It got feisty. Football is back, baby. Football is back. You can smell it in the air right now. Football is back. All right? I'm hyped. Let's get it, baby. I'm so hyped. Appreciate all of you. I will see y'all tomorrow night. As always, fins up all day, every day, even beyond the grave in which we'll lay. Let's get it, baby. Football returns Saturday, and we got another joint practice tomorrow, baby. Let's go. Check your pulse.